Assalamu alaikum to everybody. This is Clifton Raheem Bradley of the Underground Railroad television show. We have come on every Saturday night at 10:30. Every Saturday night at 10:30 on Channel 19. And today I'm on it. You know what? He was on my radio show. And to have Mark Clements on. Mark Clements is a community activist that is in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States of America, is just not fighting for the rights of black people. He's fighting for the rights of all people. And you know what? It's an honor to meet you in person. You know what? Because I've heard your name for so many years and years, but I just never got the opportunity to meet you. And thank you for accepting the invitation to come on the Underground Railroad television show, Brother Mark. We're not shaking hands because we're going through a pandemic right now, and it's like social distancing right now. You know, I might be a character. He might be, who knows? Only Allah knows. But Brother Mark, you know what? Please, you know what? Briefly, just tell the people something about yourself, because you have been fighting on the behalf. And you ain't been in the front of the lines, you back of the lines, you've been in the front of the lines. Not that the people in the back of the lines are not important as a catalyst to uplift the conscious level and fight on behalf of the people. And I commend you for that. Tell us something about yourself, brother.
Well, my name is Mark Clements, and back in 1981, unfortunately, I was arrested by members of the Chicago Police Department. I was taken down to Area 3 Violent Crimes, which is located on the south sector of Chicago, 39th in California. And almost immediately, once being placed inside of that police station under incommunicado status, I noticed that they were jumping on, and that is assaulting, nearly everyone that they were bringing inside of this police station through a side door. Later that evening, a detective who I had witnessed who I had witnessed inside of the police station bathroom drinking alcohol, he came inside the interrogation room and he began to interrogate me relevant to 4 murders that had occurred on the south side of Chicago. Those 4 murders were individuals that had lost their lives in an arson fire at 66 in Wentworth in Chicago. And basically, I knew nothing about this offense other than the fact that I was the paper boy in that particular area. This fire had occurred like 8 days before I had been arrested on June the 25th. I was taken into police custody in wake of a young lady by the name of Ramona Patton, who went to law enforcement to try to collect a reward. Little that I knew is that Ramona had fingered out 4 previous individuals in the community. You know, being a young 16-year-old child back in 1981 and placed inside of a police station incommunicado, that means absent of all access to a telephone, absent of all access to an attorney, and absent of my parents, that left me at the mercy of police officers. And those police officers, they terrorized me. I was called every degrading name in the book while being beat in a very small interrogation room called Nigger Boy, and basically railroaded through our criminal justice system, as even the person who had fingered me to the police still, you know, the prosecutors felt no need to call her in to testify. There was not one witness. And, you know, these cases are cases that slip under the radar of our criminal justice system, and they slip under the fact that confessions absent at least one witness to point the finger is absolutely no good. But it worked in the prosecutor's favor against me. I was found guilty. I was sentenced to 4 consecutive natural life terms, plus 30 years of my life as a 17-year-old kid. Well, you know, I didn't know much about the criminal justice system.
Excuse me, did you have a lawyer or a public defender?
I had 2 Cook County public defenders. I had one with 1 year of experience and the other with a 1.5 years of experience, who did literally no investigation as to how this offense allegedly occurred. Their defense, far as on my behalf, was that I was a mentally retarded 16-year-old boy with an IQ of 58.5, making me among the second lowest range of IQs in the nation. So that was their defense. It was no defense in which people in the community had been spoken to by the attorneys, and really that option and that avenue was an avenue that we were able to explore that led 28 years once I was inside of the prison system. And thanks to people like Bernadine Doran over at Northwestern University, or I would be still locked up inside of a prison.
Bless, you bless. And you know what, you specifically told me that, you know what, deviate just for a second. You work hand in hand with Father Flagger of St. Sabina's Church in Chicago. I think it's 78th and Racine in Chicago.
Yes.
You say you specifically wanted to say something about that?
Well, you know, I think that what has occurred to Father Flagger is an eye-opener, and we're talking about a 40-year eye-opener.
Who's he accused of?
He's accused of some form of assault upon a child.
Okay.
Now, you mean to tell me that you can accuse Father Flagger 40 years after the fact, but these police officers who took children inside of police stations as well and tortured confessions out of them, it does not lift one red eye amongst the black and brown community, amongst its leaders, amongst its elected officials? Something is wrong with that picture, in my opinion.
Okay, and you know, and that's good, you work hand in hand with him and y'all have a rapport and a working relationship and a friendship. And as we talk about the criminal activity that goes on in Chicago, how does it help to have a new police chief? How does it help to have new police in it, you know, where people have been selling drugs in the same areas for millenniums? Prostitutes have been walking down the same streets for millenniums, but then they talk about it's going to be able to change, and little Johnny knows where the drug house is, and the police don't know anything about it. What do you do to remedy that problem?
Well, the problem
the corruptness that's within some police officers that are turning a blind eye to what their friends are doing. What do you do?
Well, the corruption comes in due to the fact that the Chicago Police Department is corrupt. It's a gang. It is an enterprise upon criminal activity that has terrorized the African American community probably since our existence here in this country. You know, there's no telling who's innocent and who's actually guilty behind our prison walls. Now, that's one factor that we must consider, but there's also another factor as to the elevation of tortures in the African American community. It left from terrorizing African American kids inside of interrogation rooms to exterminating them on the streets. And even in the wake of video evidence, these officers still appear to get away with certain malicious style, cold-blooded murders upon African American people. And now we have an African American mayor who rejects at least 150 of the 155 recommendations.
You're talking about Lori Lightfoot he's talking about the mayor of Chicago. For people who don't know, her name is Lori Lightfoot. Go ahead.
Right, and you know, the mayor controls. She is the hat over the Chicago Police Department, believe it or not. And with Brown coming in from Dallas, no, it's two different jurisdictions and two different levels of crime. You know, and Dallas, we would think that only in Chicago that we would cut our televisions on and see pretty heinous type crimes. Well, in Dallas, they face the same set of criminal element. The bottom line of it is that Brown comes in as a game player. And that's what Brown's role is now. He is a game player. He is the rubber stamp to the mayor. And he's going to do his job the way that she wants it done. And is he the first rubber stamp that has held that office? No. And he will not be the last rubber stamp that holds that office. We couldn't find any officer here in Chicago, and that is because they are tainted, and they're tainted with corruption.
You know what? What is your feelings about the mayor? There were tapes of a lady. There was a raid in the house, and the lady, they did not cover the lady up. It was on Facebook. And they said that Mayor Lightfoot had knowledge of this before she got in office and could have possibly had done something about it. What is your...
Well, that is the Anjanette Young case.
They had the lady stock naked, and you know what? And they had to cover her up, and they broke into the wrong house.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, what happened to Mrs. Young is a tragedy, but it is also an abuse by the police department. It is an abuse that has been permitted for decades, if not centuries, in this country. Mm-hmm. I believe that really the mayor should resign, due to the fact that she came in with the same style of cover-up as Rahm Emanuel when he covered up the Laquan McDonald's case. So now she promised to do different. But guess what? She didn't apologize until her hand had gotten caught into the cookie jar. Had it not been for CBS Channel 2 exposing her dirty deeds, then America would not know. Had it not been for Channel 2 also exposing the fact that police officers ran over I think she was a pregnant female, over on the south side of Chicago, she was made privy of that information as well. We need a mayor that is going to reflect the integrity of the people who it served. And when we tell you, guess what? Until the people begin to understand that change is them and stop putting their change into other people, then we're going to be disappointed. When we tell you, when I was stuck like Chuck inside of those prisons, I prayed to God for an opportunity, and that opportunity was to relieve my mother. My mother was a little old mother.
It's Virginia.
Yes, Virginia Clements. And when we tell you, she was my heart, she was my rock, because when we tell you, in reality, the way that the police department frame you, man, it makes you question if you committed the crime or not. And this is the reality for so many black and brown kids that are pumped through the criminal justice system. I was considered as a nuisance to the community because I stole pop bottles.
It's insane, man. That's insane.
So the thing about it is, we need change, and the change is going to have to come through the people taking a risk and understanding that, guess what? You can't get change with bringing in the same old junk. And that's what we have seen. We have seen from Rahm Emanuel, even further back to the Richard Daley administration, to the Eugene Sawyer administration, down to even Harold Washington days. A lot of people don't understand that politics is a very, 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 very cruel game. And when we tell you, they can know some of everything and keep that stuff to themselves, because politics is not good for what they're trying to achieve.
You know what? I see you and your group. Can you say the name of your group and actually where y'all are located at? Y'all protesting consistently out of Cook County Jail. I assume because of the torture and abuse and all that. What is the reason that y'all are out there? And you say it's people when they had COVID-19. What is going on at Cook County Jail and Statesville Prison?
Well, primarily it is the COVID conditions. It is the conditions that, here it is, a society that have known that the prison medical was ineffective from the get-go. Now it finds out about COVID-19, and now it is all of the so-called elected officials believe or want us to believe that it's going to be better for them due to the fact that, well, they keep them locked up inside of their cells. Well, the bottom line of it is COVID was brought into the institution by the guards. And the bottom line of it is that most of those inmates, because of prison rules, they couldn't get hand sanitizer. They couldn't have masks. So they was just left open to basically perish. And I believe that is wrong. I believe, and I will say it time and time and time again, a governor reflects the interests of the people. It does not reflect profit over the people. And that is what we have seen through all of these states. Just picture George Floyd and now this police station falling down because the people are mad. Now, guess what? Every particular region had to call a news conference and kneel, and to make it look like, well, what happened to Mr. Floyd was wrong. You better believe it was wrong. It was criminal as to what took place with him, but it happens even in their regions, and they're covering it up.
Well, let me ask you something. How do people in general, you see the injustice that is going on inside of the penalized institutions that are going on, okay? And how do people participate and help you and your group to make a greater awareness in your plight?
Well, you know, you can get involved with the Chicago Torture Justice Center. We are a one-of-a-kind center due to the fact that we were formed based off of men and women that were taken down to police stations and they were tortured. The city of Chicago back in May of 2015, if I believe that's, 2015, they reached a resolution to provide a reparations package for men and women that had been tortured. This center was only supposed to be given to the 57 heirs, but we made a decision to provide or to attempt to provide assistance to our community and to open it up for everyone. So we have made a decision to at least put our voices into nearly each and every little area that is affecting men and women that are either behind the prison walls or those that are coming out of the prison walls. You know, it's like Tom Dart. He runs the Cook County Jail. Okay, most people don't know Tom Dart's history. And the bottom line, if you don't know Tom Dart's history...
What is his history?
Well, his history is that he was an abuser as a state representative. He was an abuser who sat on the prison reform committee that Governor Egger had basically impaneled to basically look into Illinois prisons to reform them based off of the tape that had been revealed by some individual having alleged sex with Richard Speck, who was a serial killer. Yeah. As a result of this, they came into the prisons and they terrorized the inmates. They took away everything that was normal or at least had some type of normalcy and related to society, and they took it away from them. So literally, there are men and there are women behind our prison walls who think that, well, African American people have basically elevated. and we have not elevated. I am one of those individuals. I was totally shocked and surprised when I was released in 2019 of August to see the conditions. I had never, ever in my 2 eyes ever witnessed a homeless individual. I have witnessed individuals who decided that they wanted to drink all night and fell out in the street somewhere. Yeah. But I never witnessed a homeless individual, someone standing on a bridge asking for food, because what I remember is if you was hungry, your neighbors fed you. Well, you know, I had to grow into the change of times.
You know, I'd like to ask you something that in year 2021, you know what, the Chicago Police's contract is up for renewal. Should it be renewed? 2 questions. Should it be renewed? And should the police carry private insurance like a private detective, hairdresser, because you know a hairdresser? And would that make them think twice about committing the atrocities they're going to? So I'm really asking you 3 questions. If you could address that, I appreciate it.
Well, let's get to the insurance aspect. Of course, due to the fact that police officers have basically killed, they have basically tortured and terrorized our community without any impunity. They do it due to the fact that they know they can get away with it. So, yes, we need to hold these police officers accountable. And, yes, that's a good way to hold them accountable. But what about the insurance agencies?
I forgot to ask you, do you think prison guards, too, should have insurance? But go ahead.
Well, I think that prison guards should have insurance as well.
Private insurance.
I think that any and every agency that falls upon the law enforcement should have this insurance, due to the fact that when we tell you all across this globe, what we're finding out is that in these little small pocket towns, man, they are corrupt, man, and people are suffering. So as African Americans elevate, they don't just want to stay here, so they decide that they want to branch out. And so now when they branch out, now they find out that they have moved into Raceville. And that is so true in little towns all up in Indiana.
You know what, as we talk about that, you feel that they should have their own insurance like a private detective. I didn't even know a hairdresser has to have insurance.
A barber?
I didn't know that. You know, but I want to like to ask you something about body cams. A body cam is a little device that you have on you that records everything. Do you think that the police officers should have at least 2 body cams on them so they could never use the excuse, one went out? Well, what do you think about body cams?
Well, I think it's a great tool. I think that police officers should be held highly accountable when those body cams are shut off without any justification. And what we have witnessed in instances where that body cams were shut off, it was without justification. Once again, this falls upon the mayor that the people have elected to hold the police officers accountable. And when you have a mayor that is playing 2 fields at the same time, and you have a people, I'm not saying that we are so asleep that we can't see, but we are too afraid to come together, and we don't know how to come together. And that's what we need to change. Because when we tell you, if you ever witness a demonstration downtown with nothing but African American people, do you know what? Elected officials is going to pack their bags and they're going to move.
I'd like to ask you something, Mr. Clements. What I'd like to ask you is, behind every good man, there's a woman. You introduced me to your wife. And I would like to ask you, how does your wife help in giving you the encouragement?
Well,
and the courage.
She's not technically
to move on.
And she'll probably beat me, but she's not technically my wife, but she's a great, what they say, right and left hand.
Okay.
So in other words, she keep me intact, I try to keep her intact, and then we just try to smile and just live, because it's a lot of difficulties.
She has encouraged you, she has pushed you forward. when you felt you was in darkness? And you,
Well, under some circumstances, she's still learning too, because she's not open as much as people may think to other people stealing my time. So in other words, if it's time to go eat and I cancel,
and let me ask you something. Do you have any finishing comments that you would like to give? Well, how can people help you in your plight? Because you are a great community activist. How can people help you?
Well, I urge people to go to the Chicago Torture Justice Center.org. Chicago Torture Justice, not the center, chicagotorturejustice.org. I ask you to go there. We have a telephone number in which you can call. Get involved. We are here for you and we want to help you. The people already kept me caged for 28 years. Guess what? You can teach me about society. I can teach you what's on the other side of the road. And that's how we can get involved. And once again, please go to chicagotorturejustice.org.
Okay, and you know what? You have been listening to Mark Clements, and before brothers think I'm shirking, all praises due to Allah. This is a brother that is working in the community. Has been working for years to try to uplift the people. And I encourage you to help him. And you even on Facebook. How do they get in contact with you on Facebook?
All they have to do is just simply reach out. Mark Clements, Clements, Clements. And one thing that I want to say is people follow the suit as to what you see these families at the Cook County Jail, and they're standing there and they're begging for reform behind those prison walls. What happened to Nick Lee in the Cook County Jail, how he died and his wife called the jail over 132 times, that is against the law. And it should not be permitted. And we need a more sound law so that we can hold these people accountable, because those young men and women that are dying as a result of COVID, guess what? They can't get any relief.
Well, you know what, Brother Mark Clements, I hope this is not the last time. Only Allah knows that. But you don't want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come on the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30. This will be on YouTube, and I hope this will be all right to put this on your page, your Facebook page. I'm not going to bombard it, but I want to, thank you again, and Allah's will, we'll meet again.
We will.
Okay. And just keep on beating the drums. Thank you for watching the Underground Railroad. We come on every Saturday night at 10:30, and thank you to my great crew. Elmer, Brian, and Alan, and Brother Grady, and may his wife get well. And thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Shit. But
thank you.